This video will show you how to replace the front brake caliper on a Ford Edge. This will be located behind your front wheel. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we have to do is safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. Once you've completed that, we're going to remove our center cover. For this, I'm just using a small pry bar. I'm finding the groove in the rim, and I should be able to make my way in and gently pry. Once you have that removed, go ahead and set it aside and we'll start removing our lug nuts. We're using a 19mm for each of these lug nuts so we can remove the wheel. Now that we have the wheel out of the way, we have a clear view of our front caliper and our front brake flex hose. Typically, when I'm servicing this item, I like to make my way to the bleeder screw on the caliper. I would turn this counterclockwise, fluid would start making its way out, so I have a collection receptacle and an eye protection. Now my bleeder screw is broken on this vehicle, so I'm going to go down to this area here, and I'm going to use an 11mm. This is the banjo bolt between the caliper and our flex hose. Now once I have this broken free, I can see fluid is starting to trickle out. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Now I do not want to have all the fluid make its way out of my braking system, so we're going to pause in this area. We're going to make our way into the passenger compartment and press the brake pedal down all the way down to the floor. Hold it there with something such as a pry bar as necessary. Now as you saw, fluid did make its way out of this area and it has stopped trickling. I have pressure on that brake pedal. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove my banjo bolt, separating my flex hose from my brake caliper. There's that banjo bolt. Typically more fluid will be making its way out of this area. That will typically be from the caliper itself. Now that I have the flex hose separated from the caliper, we can start removing the caliper from the vehicle. Once we have it out of position, remove the brake pads. For now, along the inboard side where the caliper connects to our steering knuckle, you're going to find that you have two 19mm headed mounting bolts. Remove the pair. As for the first one, I'll fully remove it, a quick inspection, start it back in just a couple threads. Now as I start removing this caliper, we do want to be aware of our brake rotor. We don't want this to fall off and potentially hurt anybody. You can use one of your original lug nuts. That will help prevent this from coming off. Let's go ahead and take hold of that caliper. We're going to remove our mounting bolts while holding the caliper. It can't be heavy. Don't let it fall. Carefully slide the caliper away from your brake rotor. Now at this point, we're going to remove our brake pads from inside of the caliper bracket itself. For this, we do not have to disassemble the caliper. We'll just get this to the bench and we'll slide the pads right out of there. Now I've got my front caliper on the bench here. We'll start removing our brake pads. A quick note about removal of the brake pads. When we go to install them, it's preferable to make sure you install them in the same positioning as where you had removed them. The outboard pad will be on the outboard side of the brand new caliper as well. As you remove each one of the pads, give it a thorough inspection. If it looks like it's damaged or worn at an angle, you want to replace it. Let's prepare the brand new caliper for installation. The first thing we're going to have to do here is break it down. We're removing the caliper from the caliper bracket. There's going to be two 17mm slider pin bolts. Let's go ahead and remove the pair. As you remove these pins, pay close attention to which orientation they were in. You're going to find one pin is longer than the other. Just have a quick look at those. Go ahead and remove the caliper from the bracket. Let's focus on the bracket. The process for one side of the caliper bracket will be the same as the other. We're going to be applying high temperature caliper lubricant along the areas of the bracket where our brand new caliper bracket tins would sit. This is going to help with vibration dampening and noise reduction. It also helps keep moisture out of the area. Now, as far as these tins, you're going to find that the tins will have different edges. 2 of the tins for the caliper bracket will have edges that go out to one side, and the others will have it going out to the other. Just pay attention to that. Also, as we look from the side here, we can see the tabs I just mentioned, but you can also see that I have this hooked end. That would be facing down towards the bracket area. So I have the tabs facing out away from where the brake rotor is, and that small end facing down. Line it up, press it in. Just double check, make sure it's secured, repeat the process for the other side. That's one side of the bracket. Go ahead and turn it around, repeat that process. Now I've got both sides of the caliper bracket done. Let's go ahead and set that aside. We'll focus on the caliper now. As far as the caliper is concerned, the brake pads are going to sit directly up against your caliper pistons and up against the outboard ears. Let's apply lubricant in these areas as well. We're only applying lubricant to the areas that the brake pads touch against. That's our 2 pistons. Over at the vehicle, we're starting with our caliper bracket. I'm bringing it over my brake rotor and I'm aligning it with the mounting points on the steering knuckle. I've cleaned the threads on my mounting bolt. I like to use red thread locker. Go ahead and start in both of those bolts. Once they're started in, we'll bottom them out and then torque each of them to 98 foot-pounds. Now it's time for installation of our brake pads. During the removal from the original caliper, you remember I had mentioned, pay attention to the orientation. The outboard pad will be on the outboard side. The pad that you remove from the inboard side is going on the inboard side. As for the brake pads, just carefully start bringing them into position into the caliper bracket. Once you have one side in position, just go ahead and roll the other side in as well. Things should slide in fairly easily. If it does not, you need to make sure you clean up your brake pads. There may be some rust. We're moving along to installing the caliper on top of the caliper bracket and pads. The next thing I'm going to do is just apply some high temperature lubricant directly to the smooth area of each one of my slider pin bolts. Let's take that caliper, we'll get it in position and install the slider pins in their original positioning. Let's bring this right on over those brake pads. Now it's time for installation of our slider pin bolts. Just go ahead and take those and bring them into their original positioning on the caliper. I like to start with the larger bolt. That's going to be up along the top. The shorter bolt will be down along the bottom. As for each of these slider pin bolts, snug them up and then torque those to 65 foot-pounds. Along the back side of the caliper, we have our brand new banjo bolt with 2 brand new gaskets. Let's go ahead and remove those gaskets there. Now it's time for installation of the banjo bolt holding the flex hose to our caliper. When we go to install this, we're taking one of our brand new crush gaskets, sliding it onto the banjo bolt all the way up to the flange. On the flex hose, we're sliding it down and through. We're paying attention to the orientation. We have one locating tab. On the other side of that flex hose, we have another one of our small, brand new crush gaskets. Go ahead and line this up. We're sliding it into position here. We have our alignment tab. That's facing down towards its port on the caliper. We're using our 11 millimeter. Once you've got that snug, we're going to torque it to 18 foot-pounds. We need to lightly squeeze each one of our 2 gaskets, preventing any brake fluid making its way out. There we are. Go ahead and take hold of the flex hose, attempt to give it a wiggle. It should not move around in any way. We're also double checking just to confirm we have not twisted our flex hose in a way that might restrict brake fluid flow. Let's get this lug nut off of here. Now it's time to perform a gravity bleed. For this, make your way inside the passenger compartment. Remove pressure from your brake pedal. After you have that set aside, go ahead and pump up the brake pedal. We'll make our way back out here to our bleeder screw. On the bleeder screw, if you happen to have a bleeder screw cover, you can go ahead and remove that. I'm going to be using an 8mm for this particular bleeder screw. We're going to open this. Once I do open it, we're going to find that we have to wait several seconds to see a steady trickle of fluid making its way out of this area. Now at this point, I've been letting this trickle for several seconds here. I can see that I do not have any more small air bubbles making its way out of the hydraulic system, so I'm going to close my bleeder screw. Before we go any further, let's make our way back inside the passenger compartment. We're going to pump up the brake pedal. We want to make sure that it feels firm, not soft and squishy. If it does feel soft or squishy, more than likely you still have air trapped in the system, in which case you would want to continue on with a manual brake bleed. Otherwise, if it feels good, just go ahead and clean up any mess from this area, double check for leaks, and then reinstall your wheel. With the wheel back on the ground, we'll be torquing these in a crisscross manner to that 100 foot-pounds. When we install the center cover, we want to make sure that we have the ports for each one of our lug nuts aligned properly. Tap it into position. Double check and confirm it's properly secured. Through this process, we will have to make our way behind the wheels to each one of our bleeder screws. You want to make sure that they do open, otherwise you need to service that. Once you've confirmed that your bleeder screw's open, we're under the hood. Under the hood at the master cylinder, we're going to open up our master cylinder reservoir cap. Inside of this area is where the brake fluid's located. Let's remove as much of it as possible. For this, I'm going to use a fluid extractor. We'll recycle that fluid as necessary. Let's go ahead and top off that master cylinder reservoir with clean .3 brake fluid. You can use a funnel if necessary to gain access in this area. We're going right up to the maximum line. Now we can reinstall our brake master cap. Now we can continue on with the brake bleeding procedure. We're going to start at the passenger side rear. Now I have a second person inside of the vehicle. We're going to start bleeding the brakes. I'm on the passenger side rear. As far as this is concerned, of course we do have a collection receptacle underneath where our bleeder screw is. If you happen to have a rubber protective cover, just go ahead and remove that now. We're going to set that aside. Typically you would want to reuse it. At this point, I'm going to carefully open up my bleeder screw here. What I want to do is make sure that it breaks free. So once I have this open, there we go. It does break free. I can see fluid. I'm just going to lightly close this. Now I'm going to ask the person inside of the vehicle to pump up the brake pedal approximately 3 to 5 times and hold it. While they're holding, they're going to let me know. I'm going to reopen this. The pressure from their foot on the brake pedal making its way through the lines is going to start pressing out any fluid and air from in this system. We need to remove as much air as possible, and of course we only want clean and brand new brake fluid only. Let's go ahead and pump up that brake pedal, please. Okay, go ahead and pump. Go ahead and pump. You can release, thank you. Now at this point, we repeated the process as many times as necessary. I saw that there's no air in the system and the fluid looked clean. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and clean up the mess here. I'll reinstall my protective cover. Make your way over to the other side of the vehicle, the driver's side rear. Repeat this exact same process. Once you've completed that side, there's no air and only clean brake fluid, stop at the master cylinder and top it off. Under the hood, let's go ahead and remove that cap. We're using our funnel, clean .3 brake fluid, just go ahead and top that off. After topping off the master cylinder, we're at the passenger side front caliper. I'm going to remove my protective cover here. Just go ahead and pull that right out of place. Of course, I have my collection receptacle under here. Let's go ahead and start pumping the brakes. $8mm wrench. Go ahead and pump. Go ahead and pump. Okay, you can release, thank you. Now, as you saw, we had only clean brake fluid making its way out. We removed any air from the system on this side of the vehicle. We're going to clean this mess, reinstall the protective cover. You're going over to the driver's side front caliper next. Repeat that process, remove any air, then you're back at that master cylinder one last time. Let's top off the master cylinder one last time, all the way up to our maximum line here. Got my funnel, clean .3. Make sure that cover is nice and tight, clean any mess in this area. Okay friend, we finished the job. Now at this point, we need to just double check for leaks, confirming there's no hydraulic fluid leaks. Aside from that, once your wheels are installed, you're making sure everything's torqued to 100 foot-pounds, close the hood and take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.